What's up, guys? It's Bolt, and I'm back with another Lords of the Fallen build guide. And in this video, we're going to go over my Grinning Axe Ignite status build. And typically in this game, status builds are not very good. It's too much effort for what they do. But in this case, especially for PvP, this specific build right here is probably the best status build, and the Ignite status is probably the best status effect in the game. It's a nice AoE that does a little bit of burst damage and some nice posture damage all in one. Really nice to have. But the problem is for PvE. This is why I don't really recommend this build specifically for PvE. It's mainly a PvP build. Is because the resistances that the enemies have. There are some bosses and some enemies that are just really highly resistant to status effects. And in this case, Ignite, that sometimes you won't even be able to proc it, or it takes way too many hits to proc. And for PvE, I just really recommend you go all in on damage instead of trying to build for statuses. But since this is mainly a PvP build, let me break it down for you, because this thing absolutely decimates in PvP. The Grinning Axe is probably one of the best regular weapons, non-special weapons in the entire game. That is because it does the Ignite and the burn status effects simultaneously at a decently high rate. But we're going to be stacking that with 2 rings, which we'll get into in a second, which will allow you to proc Ignite with like 1 to 2 swings tops, and you will be melting, no pun intended, your opponents pretty easily. But let's go over the rune setup on the Grinning Axe. And unfortunately, guys, you will have to do two playthroughs to get 2 Grinning Axes, unless you find some nice kind people that on Reddit or on Discord or wherever you can find them at, that can drop you these runes and another Grinning Axe. And the rune setup is, we're going to have 2 Shun runes, which increase your elemental damage, and 1 Demexis rune, which increases your entire dual wielding damage. That is elemental and physical. I do not go with the Trelos runes. Trelos runes say they increase your Ignite status. From my testing, it didn't really affect it at all. Not like the rings we are using here. So I do not recommend going with Trelos. I recommend you guys go all in on the damage in the rune format, and then leave the status effect boosting to our ring setup, which we go over in a second. And we will be pairing our weapons with the most powerful catalyst in the entire game once you reach 50 Inferno, and that is the Queen Sophia's catalyst. Now, this is an endgame catalyst. You do have to complete the Tortured Prisoner questline to obtain it. So in the meantime, you could use something like the Rogar Heart until you get the Queen Sophia catalyst. Now, I'm going to go right into the ring setup, because that is what is this build focused on, and that is the Ring of Infernal Devotion ×2. Again, 2 playthroughs, unless you find somebody kind enough to drop you these rings. And the Ring of Infernal Devotion, what it does is that when you inflict burn, which we will be doing, it simultaneously inflicts your Ignite buildup. Now, these 2 rings do stack. So while we're doing burn with our Grinning Axe, it's gonna build up our Ignite, which the Grinning Axe already does. And stacking it with the other Ring of Infernal Devotion, you will be proccing your Ignite every 1 to 2 swings. It is crazy. And then we're going to pair that with the Rogar's Delight, which is going to increase our burn damage, give us a little bit of holy defense, our fire damage rather. Right to the spell breakdown. Now, another spell, I have been sleeping on this spell, and it pairs and combos beautifully with the Ring of Infernal Devotion as well, and that is the Infernal Slash. And it pairs and combos well with the Infernal Devotion is because the Infernal Slash actually does the burn status effect as well. And not only does it do the burn status effect, this is a great spell to use for bridging the gap. And what I mean by that is when you're to outspace your opponent. Now, the Grinning Axe doesn't have great range. It lacks in. The Infernal Slash will make up for the range with a nice medium range swipe that comes out quite quickly. It looks like this. And a lot of times opponents do not suspect it. And the best thing about that is it cannot be parried. It is a spell. It does not get parried. So when you see somebody with their shield out and they're just going to try to parry fish for you, just spam the damn Infernal Slash, build up that burn, which will build up the Ignite, and you will be destroying your opponent very easily. Next, we have the best spell in the entire game. I don't even got to go over it. You guys see my other videos. Beating a dead horse right here. Seismic Slam. Just don't spam it in PvP. Be a nice guy and just leave it for punishes only. Infernal Weapon. This is going to boost the damage of our weapon and also add the burn status effect even further on our weapon. So that's going to further increase the Ignite procs we will be getting. And then last but not least, we do have the 2 buff spells that I prefer to use, but you could use these last 2 spells for whatever you want. I use the Adir's Range, gives us about 10% extra damage to all of our damage. And then we have the Adir's Hardiness, which gives us about 25% damage reduction, which is beautiful to have. Now, for armor, I usually wear what I think looks cool, but lately, actually, I think this armor looks cool, but it actually has more of a purpose than just looking cool. Lately, I've just been coming into contact with so many Aureus Judgment spammers, Pieta Sword users, and Flickering Flail spammers. My god, I hate the Flickering Flail. So what I did was try to boost up my Holy Defense, and this is the armor set we do have, but I love the way it looks. I am obsessed with the Weeping Abyss meter that we have here as the helmet, and as for the armor, it is the Judge Cleric's armor, the Kiringer Guardian Gauntlets, and the Sovereign Protector leggings. This is going to boost our these 2 right here boost our holy defense quite nicely. And then these 2 other pieces of armor are just to balance out my my status defenses and my elemental defenses. But you guys can use whatever armor you like. This is just what I like to use. Let's go over the stat breakdown. This is a level 125 build, which I prefer to PvP at, but feel free to level up as much as you want. There is no level matchmaking in this game. I just like to keep my builds at 125 to make it a well-rounded, centered build where I can't do everything. I'm just focused on one specific thing. And strength and agility were untouched. We left that at 9. Endurance is at 16. Vitality is at 60, and we were able to get this to 60 because it is just all in on Inferno, and that is we have the second soft cap of Inferno at 75. That's going to give us our maximum damage, and we're quite tanky. The survivability is very good on this build because we have the 60 vitality. So not only are we dishing out a lot of damage with this build, but we have high survivability as well. Now, another very important component to this build is our umbral eyes. Now, the main socket is going to be the Eye of the Bloody Pilgrim. And what does that do? That makes our light attacks do even more damage, but making all of our light attacks do wither damage. Now, I know a lot of people do not like wither damage, but with the way this build is set up, your Ignite status procs are going to delete the wither damage. So your light attacks are doing crazy damage. Once you proc the Ignite, boom, their freaking health bar just disappears like that. So very strong Umbral Eye on a status effect build, because you could just let the status effect builds destroy the withered health. And then next we have for the secondary slot we have regain soul flay charge while in Umbral, and then a 25% healing efficacy while in Umbral. And that the last 2 right there in the secondary slots, you guys can use whatever you want. It's mainly the Bloody Pilgrim that you want on the main socket to decimate their HP bars. But that's it, guys. Don't forget, every single weapon has a special attack in this game. So the special attack for dual axes and a lot of the dual light, like smaller weapons, looks like this. And it's not bad. It does do quite a bit posture damage, and you get that nice forward momentum when you want to bridge the gap also against your opponents. Keep in mind, it is quite easy to parry that attack, so I wouldn't recommend spamming it so much. But yes, it does have a special attack. Use it at your own discretion, and your special attacks are performed by pressing the L1 and R2 buttons simultaneously. But that's it, guys. That sums up the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts below. Drop a like if you found this video informative and helpful. Please subscribe if you had not done so already. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.